Global Marketing, Becky Cox.
We've had a lot of fun already this convention, but there's more to come. So nobody think, it's the science, I'm out of here. Even though it's the science section, we're going to see some fun stuff a little later. You may even get to see some of our executives dressed down a little bit. I mean, clothes-wise. So hang on to your seats. We're going to do some fun stuff. Now, though, it's time for one of my favorite segments of convention, our medical experts panel. As many of you are aware, ASEA partners with a panel of medical professionals for their insight and expertise, and we've recently added a new member to our medical professionals board. Dr. Avi Herskowitz's training includes a medical degree from the Albert Einstein College of Medicine, residencies in anatomic pathology and internal medicine, and fellowship training in cardiology at the Johns Hopkins Medical Center. During his 12 years at Johns Hopkins, he became Associate Professor of Medicine and Immunology and Molecular Biology. He has served in many leadership roles in health organizations, including Head of Research at the Ishimiya Research and Education Foundation and Chairman of the Board of Directors for IRND3, an organization that discovers new medicines for rare and neglected diseases. In 2010, he formed Antera Medicine, an integrative medicine team approach towards treatment and prevention of vascular, immunologic, and difficult chronic diseases, including cancer. He is also founder of the San Francisco Stem Cell Treatment Center and clinical professor of medicine at the University of California at San Francisco. Please help me welcome to the stage our medical experts panel, which includes members of the ASEA Medical Professionals Board as well as independent redox experts. Dr. Carl B. Smith, Dr. Foster Malmed, Dr. Maureen Hayes, Dr. Avi Herskowitz, Dr. David Silverman, Sean Burke, Dr. Rob Ward, and Dr. Stan Gardner. Thank you so much for being with us today. Let's go ahead and sit down. We'll get started. There are a couple of handheld mics, that we can grab. By the way, it's really hard to get this many high-end medical professionals in the room for one segment, so we're super happy that we've been able to get everyone here today. So, for the last couple of weeks, we've been collecting questions. We included this in our ASEA newsletter and have been receiving questions. We actually got quite a few last night. And I want to start out with the last question that we received. I got 7 of these last night. The questions were basically a request to comment on the new products. And so 2 handhelds, we'll just let you guys comment. Whoever has the microphone can talk. Ladies first, if Maureen has a comment. So yeah, anyone who has a comment on the new products, feel free.
Are these on?
Yeah, they are.
Well, I've been using the new products for about 2 to 3 weeks now, and I will say personally that I absolutely love them. I've always loved the Renew 28. I'm a huge fan of it from head to toe, have used it for everything, from skin to rashes, bug bites, you name it. But the new products just take it to a whole new level. The fact that they have a 5-star rating, meaning that they're perfectly safe and effective, is a huge thing. So you can use these products and know that you are doing great things for your skin. You're cleaning it, you're repairing it, you're replenishing it, you're feeding it, and you're doing it very safely, very naturally, and you're going to have beautiful healing, even improved from what we've already had. So just a home run, I think. Thank you.
Thank you. Great, Maureen.
Yeah, Dr. Malmed.
Thanks. So I'm a guy. Okay, so my wife would tell you before Renew 28, I never used a skincare product ever, no matter how many she bought for me. I had my own drawer, cemetery, I think. So these products, how many people here actually did feel my face? Thank you, Terry. It's been a fascinating experience, never having done skincare, let alone the greatest skincare protocol on the planet. It's amazing. This stuff is really, really great. And guys, do the whole program because people will be feeling your face, which is not terrible unless they just had pepperoni pizza. That was only once. And it's really phenomenal, phenomenal stuff. And it goes way deeper than you think. And it's really, really healthy.
We got these products a couple weeks early, and I called and asked permission. They sent them out in a generic thing, didn't have any ingredients on them or anything. And I have a friend who's she's in charge of the personal shopping at Nordstrom. She sold over $1 million in merchandise by herself, and she's in charge of the whole team for personal shopping. She's obsessed with skincare, and I said, hey, I've got something I want you to try. So she started using this regimen. 3 days into it, she said, you know, I right now buy a cream for my eyes that costs me $500. And, you know, because of who she is and the influence she has on, you know, the personal shopping realm, different products are trying to get her to use these all the time. 3 days into it, she calls me and she says, what is this stuff? Where can I buy it? This is the best thing I've ever used.
Guess you don't need to be a doctor to figure that out. Anyone else want to comment on that question?
I would love to say there's a few things that the new products do that we were not able to do before. When we first had the ASEA Redox supplement, we used the spray, and then we got a stronger solution, the gel with the Renew 28. Now we have an even more concentrated solution in the serum, which is going to do even more than what we've seen in the past. The moisturizer has a couple of things that we've not been able to do in the past. One is it has an oxygen attractor that actually is going to attract oxygen to the area. That perfluorodecalan that has been added is something we've never been able to do before. And then there is one probiotic that's also been inserted into the moisturizer to help with the skin and the bacteria in the skin. So those are things that we've not had before.
Okay, let's move on to the next question. And this is, I thought this was actually a very interesting question. Given the varied uses of the ASEA Redox supplement and Renew 28, when would you recommend using the supplement versus for Renew 28? So in which instance, and how do you know which one to recommend as being the most effective for a given issue? Anyone want to take a stab at that one? Yeah, Dr. Silverman.
Both. Oh, it's inside out and outside in. I want people using both because the sooner someone has a response and they have an experience, they know it's real, and that's it. I mean, they're on it, and they're probably going to tell people about it. And if they're entrepreneurial, they are going to do it in a very organized way. And sometimes with the drink, it can take a little time. Sometimes the first sip, it happens, but with the gel, I want them using that too and taking before and after pictures, and I want them rubbing it on things that hurt 3 times in 6 minutes and then assess how they're feeling every minute up until 10 minutes. And most people will have an experience with the gel first, I think, most, even if they just rub it on half of their face. So for health-wise, I think the drink is the more important product, to tell you the truth, because it's the inside, but it's the outside that people see. And sometimes, you know, we're talking about it back there, you don't feel vitamin C working, you don't feel those things, you don't feel statin drugs working. Sometimes you don't feel the drink right away, but the gel can be a very experiential and an emotional response by seeing or feeling something happen quickly.
Yeah, Dr. Ward.
I agree with David that both are important. Our body is very wise, and it knows what to do, and our job is simply to provide what it needs to get well. And so, you know, sometimes you can sort of see in someone's face there's stress, and they need a lot of support there. Just like if they drink ASEA and they taste sort of a chlorine flavor, they are going to need, they're stressed, they need more product. So as you apply this product, don't doubt, especially if they use it, the new product in the sequence that you're supposed to, it really improves the absorption and the success of getting these molecules to the cells that need them the most. So it's both, but target what you see and what you feel, and I think you'll notice that people will respond a lot quicker.
Yeah, Dr. Herskowitz.
Hi, yeah.
Looking forward to hear from you.
Hi, I'm a guy also. So redox signaling is the instantaneous communications network of the body governing all metabolic systems. So if you're interested in your skin, you should use it for that organ too. But it's working from the inside out as well as the outside. Now, I run a stem cell center in San Francisco, and I didn't have a chance to use the new products, but I use the Renew 28, and I tell people that this is what you can look like when you use stem cells, but I never used them. So it's as potent as that. And you can make stem cells mixed with these fancy creams at $600-700 a month. So I think these products are awesome.
Fantastic. Yeah.
So from an athletic standpoint, using the Redox supplement obviously is going to help endurance athletes and non-endurance athletes, but with athletes taking it more often, so I have my athletes taking it 2 to 4 ounces in the morning, afternoon, and evening, because we're constantly breaking our cells down at a much higher rate. And so because of that, we're going to need to take it more often to get results. And I have athletes that'll take just in the morning, and what they're happening is they're not getting the best results because they're not taking it often enough. And then with Renew 28, we're utilizing it now before a workout, rubbing it on the quads and the lats. And that's what we're finding out, that with the increased blood supply to that area, it's helping us perform at a much higher rate. So it's very important to use both those products for athletes.
And then, Sean, would you also comment, because we had a question about dosing for athletes for the weekend warriors that are not necessarily at the elite level yet. Would you recommend the same kind of a thing, or a kind of taper up type of a thing?
Yes. So with the weekend warriors, doing the 2 ounces in the morning, 2 ounces in the afternoon, 2 ounces in the evening. The higher level athletes, I'm having them do 4 ounces, 4 ounces, 4 ounces, because they're much higher intensity. And so we see with that get better results that way too.
Perfect, thank you. Any other comments on that question, Renew versus the supplement? Dr. Gardner, comment?
I was just
For any
going
of
to
the
add
eye
that I
issues,
will
of
often
course,
use the
we
gel.
have the spray and nothing else.
Sorry, Dr. Hayes, we'll come right back to you.
Thank you, Stan. I'm so sorry. I was just going to add that I use the gel. Sometimes you come across people who maybe have a reluctance to take the liquid for some reason. Maybe they find the taste not so delicious, or they're concerned about, just putting something extra into their bodies. What I find is that people don't react to a skin product. They find it very safe, they don't find it threatening, and that's a great way to kind of segue them into the redox therapies, and then you can add the liquid later. So, and also sometimes with children, they don't want to drink it, but they will let you put some of the gel on them. So I find that an easy way to do it.
Excellent. If there are eye issues, then of course the gel is not for that. The spray bottle has worked very well for any eye issues. Once you drink the ASEA, then it gets diluted in the bloodstream, and so this, depending on how much you take in, then you have a diluted redox signaling strength that goes throughout the body. The Renew, and especially the serum, is much more concentrated, and for joints and for skin issues, Scott Aldred is doing the research on how the depth that the Renew 28 is actually getting into, but we know from a clinical standpoint that a lot of the joints are responding to it, and so it has to be getting fairly deep. And this is a concentrated gel instead of the dilute redox signaling molecules that are taken through the bloodstream.
All right, thank you for those responses. This is an easy question, and it's one I've actually seen it several times. What does the word redox mean, and where does it come from? That's probably a one-person answer, but I think for anyone who's been with the company less than a year, they may not understand that. Anybody want to take it?
So redox is a kind of a made-up word that refers to oxidation and reduction, balance. And so in our cells, we're constantly trying to maintain that balance, and in the equation of all of our cellular functions, redox molecules, either a positive or negatively charged atoms and molecules, will actually be used to catalyze reactions, depending on what it is. So it's redox means oxidation reduction, one of the most critical and important sort of downstream, way at the core of our physiology, these chemical reactions are critical, and we die without them.
Thank you, and thanks for taking that question since you are the redox doc.
Yes.
By the way, this is Dr. Robertson Ward. He has an independent website called theredoxdoc.com if anyone's looking for any more information on redox. It's kind of pure redox information. Okay, anybody else want to add to that? We're good? Should we move? Oh, Dr. Herskowitz.
Well, there are trillions of reactions happening every second, and we've had to adapt to being able to modulate to our environment, both internally and externally. So when you want to make a new protein, you do that vis-a-vis redox signaling. When you want to absorb some inflammation, you use redox signaling to govern that. And ultimately, it is fundamentally why we don't get allergic to ASEA or to Renew, because you can't be allergic to your own redox communications network. And that also speaks to why fundamentally this is an unbelievably safe set of products. FDA never sees these types of products because they're looking at one little system in a cascade of maybe 2,000 known pathways intracellularly, but this governs them all. So if you're net positive here, then firstly, it's a miracle. Secondly, you're going to usually feel better. If you don't feel better, you're still repairing. And we have to talk to how to best give our associates insights into how to keep those patients on for longer.
That's perfect, a perfect lead into this next question. We had a slew of emails come in with a question about a response to taking this supplement. Not necessarily an allergic reaction, but an unexpected response that happened immediately after starting on the supplement. I'd love to hear comments from you on how to interpret that, what should I do if I have someone who has a response like that. Just comments on that I think would be interesting.
You know, that's probably one of the most common questions that we get is associates call and say, oh, I just had someone take it and this happened, what do I tell them? They're not feeling good. Well, what you're going to tell them is, that's fantastic. And the reason it's fantastic is because this, boosts your production of glutathione, which is the body's master antioxidant, but it's also the body's master detoxifier. It's a sticky molecule. It goes in and it adheres to toxic material and transports it outside the cell into the extracellular fluid. Well, as that toxic material leaves your body, it can give you symptoms. And the mechanism of it leaving will kind of determine what kind of a symptom it gives you. If it's coming out of your brain, it can cause swelling, or it can cause an increase in pressure there, which can end up giving you headaches. Anybody ever gave it to someone and said, man, I took it and I got a headache? Okay? That's because they're cleansing in that neural tissue. It can cause brain fog, things like that. If it's in your joints, those joints can swell up a little bit. When it's in that extracellular fluid, your body recognizes that as toxicity and it wants to dilute it so it hangs on to water. This also happens with blood pressure. It can increase your blood pressure initially. As the body retains that water, it can increase your blood pressure. If it's being eliminated through your digestive system, then it's going to give you symptoms like, boy, I'm getting rid of something toxic. It'll make you nauseous, low energy, just not feeling like, I just don't feel like doing anything. Of course, you can run towards diarrhea. Your body's trying to get rid of those types of things. If it's being eliminated through your skin, then you're going to sweat more. You're going to notice, oh man, I take this too much and I sweat a whole bunch. As it leaves the skin, that toxic material can also damage the skin on its way out. So you can get little rashes, you can get little blemishes in your skin as it's leaving. Now the important thing is when an associate comes to you and says that, you're going to tell them that's fantastic. And you're going to focus on, hey, this is only going to last as long as there's still toxicity in those cells. When we can get rid of that, boy, life on the other side is going to be so much better without that toxic material in your cells. So if they can handle those symptoms, you keep them on it until they get through it. If it's too much, then they're going to do two things. Number one, they're going to cut that amount they're taking in half and increase your water intake. I tell people they should be drinking, get on the scale, whatever you weigh, divide that in half. That's how many ounces a day of good, clean water you should be drinking. So boost your water, decrease the amount you're taking until you get to a level where the symptoms are gone or bearable. hold it there for a week, and then try and taper up. If the symptoms come back when you taper up, back off, but it's only going to last as long as those cells are still toxic. And life on the other side is going to be much better, and that's what you focus on.
I think that was the best detox answer I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Can I follow that, Carl? So solutions. So wouldn't it be great to have Carl with you as you've got somebody who's going, oh my gosh, I'm growing facial hair. Oh, many of you don't know that I was one of the early test subjects in the new serum, and they had to revise it. That's all. That's a joke. So, if it is helpful, certainly take advantage of the Redox Doc website. There's a safety video that goes through and explains many of those things. One of the simple things that you can just simply say to someone as they begin ASEA or any of the products is just make sure you're drinking plenty of water, and good water. Maybe water with some trace minerals, add a little tiny pinch of salt, something like that will actually help your body respond in the way we want to see and not have to deal with some of the stresses that are associated with the change in our physiology.
Yes, absolutely.
So with athletes, we have to take in more liquids, right? We have to take more water in. So I tell my athletes to take half your body weight in ounces in water and add about 10% more, because we're, losing sweating at a much higher rate. So we're going to need to take in more water, and then that compounds the detox that's going on too. So I tell my athletes, make sure you take plenty of water plus more than normal, so that you can get that detox out of your body for the athletes.
So repeat that again. Half your body weight in ounces. So if I weigh 120, that would be 60 ounces plus 10% again, so 66. Half your body weight in ounces plus 10%.
Correct. That's what
Okay,
seems
awesome.
to be. Yep.
That's super useful. Okay. Anyone else want to comment on that question? Okay. Let's move on to the next question. And this one is sort of, as you were saying, Dr. Ward, a simple phrase. Please give me the words to describe our product's effect on health, what it does in a simple way.
I don't know. Instead of a simple phrase, I just tell people if our cells can hear each other, our immune system, if it hears that there's a problem, it can respond. And if you have cells communicating that there's a problem with cells, whether you fall down and gash your leg open or break a bone, it's always damaged cells. And signals are sent through the body for the cavalry to come, the fire department. We got a problem. And if the fire department can't hear your phone call because your signals are low, you have one bar, they can't hear where the fire is exactly and how bad it is. But if you have 5 bars on your cell phone and you call, they hear the address and they're there in a few minutes. And what the redox molecules do is amplify the signaling in the body, which that's why it's a cellular health product. It doesn't matter if it's skin cells, it doesn't matter if it's bone cells, it doesn't matter if it's brain cells. If that signal can be heard, and people say, well, if that's what it does, why should we drink it or put it on our skin? It's because when we hit puberty, our cells become less efficient, and we go on a downward slide of producing redox molecules, and they become out of balance through our whole life. And all you have to say is, hey, Joe, do you see a difference between the energy of a child and how fast they heal from injuries compared to a 40-year-old? Oh, yeah. How about a 40-year-old compared to an 80-year-old? Oh, yeah. And it starts to make sense. Instead of talking about mitochondria and reductants and oxidants and Krebs cycle, if you make it kind of simple, like with the cell phone, it seems to make sense to people. I know it's not a phrase,
No,
but it's
but
kind of a simple way to explain it.
I think any way to simplify for people is fantastic.
I'm happy to come up with a phrase.
Oh, okay.
But I'll just paraphrase what he said.
Dr. Malman always has a phrase. So let's do Dr. Malman and then hear from Dr. Herskowitz. Or did you?
Did you just point at me?
Yes, Dr. Malman.
Okay, great.
Please
First
continue.
of all, if you're healthy, if you do your blood work and you do all your tests and you're healthy, it means you have a well-functioning redox signaling system. It's pretty simple. If your redox signaling system's not functioning well, you're not going to be healthy. So everybody in here, I'm sure nobody up here on the board has been asked a question about any particular health conditions this weekend. And we never are. But if we were, we would say that we don't talk about specific health conditions because all health conditions are cellular dysfunction. It's that simple. We have a product that optimizes cellular function. Keep it simple. We're network marketers. We're not scientists.
Thank you. Yes, Dr. Herskowitz.
My phrase goes something like, it fixes our repair deficit. Basically, life in the 21st century, even if your blood tests are normal, they're not. We don't have sensitive blood tests to understand our overall repair deficit. That's another way of saying aging, but also disease is a more extreme example, but we're all in a repair deficit. And the net effect of these sets of products is to put us on the reparative side, and that's what I would say.
Perfect.
I have a pretty simple concept. I call it a blood transfusion at the cellular level. And I explain it, for thousands of years, doctors did what we call bloodletting. And that was to get rid of the evil humors in your blood. And that didn't always work out all that well. But it actually went on for quite some time. So now we know if somebody comes in and they're pale and listless and they're breathing hard and their heart rate is really fast, that maybe they're anemic. Maybe they need more blood, more oxygen carrying capacity. And so we can give them a unit of blood and maybe they'll perk up. Maybe it'll take 2 units, maybe it'll take 3. We have tests that we can see how deficient somebody is with their blood, and then we can treat accordingly. Well, we can't right now test how deficient our cells are in redox signaling molecules, but when we replenish these molecules, it's like putting those factors back in at the cellular level, and it allows our cells to do the job that they already know how to do. And so that's a very simple concept that most people can grasp, a blood transfusion at the cellular level. So hope that helps you.
Very simplified. These are healing molecules.
That is very simplified and very effective.
Yeah,
Dr.
and you could
Wood.
add the word native to our body. They are the same identical molecules that we make in our cells, and we're replenishing those. They're native.
Okay, perfect. Any other comments? Okay, we're going to stop here because I can hear the lawyers in the back crying. Okay, this is our final question, and then I'll give you all a chance to make any final comments you have.
Was it me?
No. Okay, so we had probably 25 or 30 of these kind of questions, but essentially it was friend, family member, or contact started taking the product, said they didn't feel anything. And I don't think the question was so much, why don't they feel anything, but what's a good response to that to keep them encouraged and keep them taking the product until they really do start to realize the benefits?
Okay, so real quickly, one of the reasons sometimes people say that is because they're not sure what to say or what you're looking for. They don't want to disappoint you. They may not have enough money to buy it, something. So my experience has been, if you take a moment and literally take an inventory with them, get to know them, get to know what their health challenges are, and maybe share some of your own as you do this so that people feel comfortable in telling you exactly how they feel, what their issues are. They might not have told this to anyone, maybe. If your heart is in this, they will tell you. And then as you hear the truth of that experience, then going forward, you won't be hesitant to inquire. So how are you doing with sleep? I mean, are you still having those dreams you were telling me about? Little things like that, you can inquire. Don't be afraid to ask those questions, because now you have permission. And I think when we get to that level, as we share this miracle product with people, that you will have less and less of those experiences.
Thank you.
The thing I say most commonly is real simple. It's just 2 words. Take more.
I want to touch on what Rob said. It's really, really, really important that people take an inventory. And I mean write it down. Someone gets on this and their primary problem is their neck, okay? And I'm not going to be no non-compliance here. Let's say their neck hurts really bad. And that's their primary thing because they can't really turn their neck. Well, first of all, if I were you, I'd assess right then and there when you're with them, well, what number, what level of discomfort is it, 1 to 10? How far can you turn your neck? And say, give me 10 minutes just for the heck of it, and let's just see, not promising anything. And have them promise that you'll put the gel on once, and in 3 minutes they'll reassess. If they're not any better, in 3 minutes more they'll reassess, so minute 0, 3, and 6. And watch what happens within 10 minutes with a lot of people. Okay, I'm not making any claims, but let them tell you. So if they start turning their neck, it's like, wow, they kind of know. And then they're locked in because you want people to take the drink for at least 90 days, right? But you don't know what's going to get better first. Let's say that doesn't work. If they take a health inventory and they assess their energy, their sleep, their mood, their focus, their drive, their everything, anything with their stomach. At the end of a month, when the money-back guarantee is up, when some people say, I'm not seeing anything, maybe the neck isn't any better, but it's like, wow, I'm sleeping through the night, or I'm not getting up to go to the bathroom at night. Or with me, a split in a fingernail grew out. I mean, they have to pay attention because they don't know what their body is going to address first. But once they see something get better, they're locked in. But the inventory is really, really important, I agree.
And I concur. So the inventory is so important, and have plenty of clinical evidence that most of the time, this is exactly right. They're just not seeing it. They don't know what to look for. But there's still plenty of people that aren't perceiving that they've had any sort of a change. And if you become a triple diamond, when you all become triple diamonds in this company, you will have been a cheerleader a lot. So that just means keeping these people on the product long enough to get them to say thank you. So it means that it's working. We know from the studies, within minutes, this stuff's working. Within days, 43 different metabolites are changing in your body. It's working. 100% of the time, unless you're denaturing it, it's working. Just be their cheerleader, hold their hand, ask them questions, become their friend, and just get them to stay on it long enough, letting them know when you listen to Brooke Alpert, who's a nutritional genius, and she tells you take magnesium, take fish oil. They don't feel better when they take those things necessarily, but they take them because science says take it. Our science says take it. This board, we know what we're talking about, most of us, right, David? We say take it because it's gonna work, just give it time, take more.
One other thing, inventory, take pictures. Take before and after pictures. We're up here talking of this medically. Where's Torsten? Torsten in here? We'll see him. Torsten, I was just in Geneva, and he was doing a training, and he's like, people ask him science questions. He goes, that's a good question, and you know what? Look at these pictures, and he through his fingers, before and after, before and after, before and after, before and after, before and after. Yeah, but how does it work? How exactly does it work? It makes the cells communicate, before and after, before and after, before and after, before and after. You know, show people pictures and rub the gel on people, and a lot of these things, you know, you will get a lot of people on the product if you do that. But the health inventory, take pictures of the face and tell them to take it in the exact same light and do it over, you know, the first day. There are pictures on Facebook already with the serum. Just one
Please
night.
hashtag your pictures so we can find them.
Oh.
Hashtag.
What does hashtag mean? I'm
Hashtag
an idiot.
Oh.
Wendy, help me.
So just put # renew advanced. # hashtag renew advanced.
I got to go back and do it all again.
So when I say take more, the regimen I recommend in my office is you start off with 2 ounces twice a day. If someone really wants to notice results and they're in a hurry and they're impatient, go 2 ounces twice a day for 3 days. If you're not feeling anything, 2 ounces 3 times a day for 3 days. Then 2 ounces 4 times a day, then 3 ounces 4 times a day, and 4 ounces 4 times a day in 3-day increments. I haven't had anybody get in my practice, and I've had thousands of people get on this, get to 4 ounces 4 times a day without noticing something significant.
So will you repeat that again? You said that fast.
2 ounces twice a day, just like they recommend. And if they're not noticing anything after 3 days, you up it to 2 ounces 3 times a day. Then 2 ounces 4 times a day, then 3 ounces 4 times a day, and then eventually 4 ounces 4 times a day. I just really haven't had anyone get to 4 ounces 4 times a day without noticing something significant.
Fantastic, fantastic responses, absolutely. Let me point out one thing. I was actually sitting in the Meet the Experts yesterday and heard a part of Sissel's presentation, and she was also saying that everyone should do an inventory before they start the product. And she said you can find the body inventory on page 9 of the Norwegian Success Guide. For everyone who's not Norwegian here, it is in the Success Guide. So anyone who enrolls with ASEA and gets the white box, the starter kit, there's a booklet in there called the Success Guide. And there's a body inventory in the first part of that. So if you're not sure what we're talking about, it's just a little questionnaire that kind of gets people asking the right questions about their current state of health, so that when you go back after they've been using the product, you can go back, go through those same questions, and it helps them sort of recognize that they've seen improvements when they might just say, I don't really feel anything. Okay, we have a few more minutes. Did anyone have any last comments they wanted to make questions you maybe get frequently that we haven't addressed? Maybe we'll just start here and work down. We've got about 4 minutes.
Real quick, I just wanted to give another explanation of what redox means. Oxidants are molecules in the body that are missing an electron, and those molecules are bouncing around trying to find an electron, and as they bounce, they cause damage to the tissues. And if those are uncontrolled, we call that oxidative stress, and that's the problem with over-oxidation. Reductants are the electron donor. They offer the electron to the oxidant so that that damage is reduced. And so that reduction and oxidation process that's taking place in the body is critical. Oxidation is good. It's the communication system, but it's when it gets out of control, when we've lost the balance of the reductants and the oxidants, that we get into oxidative stress. And all degenerative issues in our body really are at the core an oxidative stress issue.
Thank you.
So sometimes we get all excited and wrapped up in the science. I certainly do. But occasionally you just witness some truth. And just recently, my wife Diane saw the new products, and she was excited. She's a relative newcomer to ASEA in this last year. She's as excited here about this new product as anything I've seen. So there's a truth.
I'm excited about the new product. I didn't get a chance to make that statement, but athletes like myself, I'm in the pool, swimming about 15,000 yards a week, biking over 250 miles a day or a week, and running probably 25 to 30 miles. A lot of damage to my skin, so if you have athletes out there, get them on the new product, new skin, they're going to get on the other product.
You know, having belief in the product is important to, number one, stay on it, and number two, to promote it. And so the new products came out. First of all, I've never used a cleanser in my life. I just haven't. And it's pretty amazing. And the gel, I took pictures. I saw some interesting changes. But what made me, is always something where it's like, wow. And I had a skin tag on the back of my neck that Renew wasn't working on, and in 3 days with the serum, it was not there, and it's pretty cool. But here's the main thing about keeping it simple. It's a truth. I think Sue Brenchley started this, I think. Just drink it, wear it, and share it.
Well, I think explaining the complexity of redox signaling molecules is a very good cure for insomnia. So, as Terry Latham says, keep it simple. So, we're not looking at our gauges in our own body car. So we're not looking at the oil gauge, we're not looking at the fuel gauge. So we're adding something that will add more fuel to the system, and therefore you're practicing prevention. And that's what everyone wants here. We don't want to get something in the last stage because we have very little signaling in our systems until it's too late. So you want to practice prevention. And the things that scare us all here, everyone knows what I mean, we don't want. So this is a mechanism that can work. And again, the complexity of the whole system is so great that if something works, then we're blessed to have it, and we're blessed to be able to use it, and we're blessed to be able to advocate for it.
You know, just very quickly, I'd like to add that, you know, people ask all of us, I'm sure, how to share this with other doctors, other medical professionals. And I just want to say, we're people too, and we have spouses and kids and pets, and you really want to speak to that. Get into it with the human element, and the rest will come. So share your stories and speak from the heart.
And we're a little over time, so just very quickly, so we have two different kinds of technology, two products. Just remember that all of you and everybody that you know and everybody they know, living, breathing, looking younger, feeling younger, never ever gets old. And we're not allowed to talk about cures unless you run it by Ben Tyler. And long-term usage of ASEA and Renew 28 will in fact cure skepticism.
One question real quick that didn't get addressed is the salt content. A lot of people ask me, well, I can't take this because the reality is the salt content in ASEA is negligible. It's equivalent to 2 ounces twice a day is equivalent to a slice and a half of wheat toast, or maybe about 3 medium carrots. So you can ask your doctors, okay, if I eat 3 carrots a day, if that's okay, skip the carrots, drink your ASEA.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, let's thank our medical experts panel for all that great information today.